got to change your evil ways, Papa. Before you stop getting views, you've got to change, Papa. And every word that Mark said is true, cause you're blockbuster, redacted, and dumb as a clown. You've got Mark posting and talking, gadooshing you down. This can't go on. Lord knows you've got to change, Papa. One take. Papa, you don't need that much nicotine.
It's time for my favorite time of the week. When you get near Papa, try to speak. Release surprises today. You better act Jay or watch 10 minutes of Schaub.
Welcome to Timo's
10 minutes of
Schaub. Look at us. What are we doing here, Papa?
What are we doing here?
We have Mark Harley on the show.
Marg Harley.
This is Brendan's dream come true, dude.
Am I here? Heard it both ways. I don't know.
Yeah, he might. This is the CGI, you know? Hey, this is AI
Now,
technology.
one thing I wanted to ask you guys,
Yeah.
you could probably tell, I am bigger and gayer and more liony in person, you got to admit. Right?
Yeah, he's huge.
Huge,
I prepared myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really
You had
did.
a cardboard cutout of me.
The lion is out of the zoo, free to roam, do what he wants, gadoosh anybody he wants.
That's true. It's very freeing, actually.
It's very cool to see. And
One thing I didn't expect from meeting you is
Yeah.
that I didn't know that I was gonna feel like a baby gay lion. You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
I just feel like I'm inferior.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Sometimes, like, I think that's a fun way to interact with guys, to be like, guys love to do this. Like, no, I'm trying to get like you, or like, oh, no, you're buff. Like,
Right.
but as you can probably tell, I spend so little time thinking about that and try to like actively not have my brain work in that way versus I think guys like Schaub and other narcissists, it's like always like sizing each other up and like, oh, am I stronger than you? Could I murder you? And like, you know, and it's just, I don't know. That kind of male behavior, you're going to get it anyway out in the world. But I just always think it's funny. That's how guys interact. Like,
Yeah.
but you're bigger than me. It's like, I don't give a fuck, you know, because there's 800 guys, you know,
Right.
who are bigger than me in, you know, the quarter mile of here.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even see it. Honestly, I feel like a longtime friend just meeting it for the first time, you know?
Yeah. Why?
Great guy, never met him. You know? This is so cool. We've been shooting the shit. We're getting along really well.
It's
I mean,
true. We had a nice like 20-minute like warm up where we were
Right.
shooting the shit, and yeah, like, and this is what I told you off air is that what I really appreciate about your show, because it almost seems like if you start a Brendan Schaub channel, like if you can't get like 10,000, you're like it's like, what are you doing here?
You're blockbuster, yeah.
But a lot of these channels are kind of just going like a recap, the most basic recap of what happened in the Bopaverse this week. But you guys are actually two things. You're adding creativity to it with these song parodies, which I assume, like, that takes time to both write and record, right? That's I would assume it's several hours a week.
Well, really, it's one take, but
It is one take. Right? So the recording just is the length of the time of the song. But, you know, the writing, I don't assume takes, you know, only a few minutes. So, but it's also just time and mental energy. And I can tell you guys want to do it really well. And then secondly, the humor of the show to me comes from the fact that you're very detached and you take this approach of like, it's all silly and I want to be entertained by it. And some people cross over into this like anger and contempt and actual bitterness. And it's, to me, it's hard to do comedy from that place.
Yeah, we don't want to be like that. It's all fun and games for us.
Yeah.
And honestly, we're standing on, as I said before, we're standing on the shoulders of giants. You know, we got people like Rogan is Shorty Pie and Ryan Joseph and President A Banana and all those people.
No, it is because like people, you have really good engagement, and I don't know I know you get pretty good numbers for the fact that like, like, you know, I'm a numbers guy, B. So like you guys do really good numbers for, I don't know how many subscribers, but it always looks like people engage. And that's kind of another one of these core things that, you know, I'll probably continue to bring up, like, you know, here's how I think and here's how Brendan thinks. And I think like, you know, the mistakes that led to us falling out are part of this, because I think when you're dealing with podcasting and social media, you have to cultivate your community and treat them like equals in a sense. Like you can't kind of take this, like, I'm just better than everyone. And that's part of what I don't read comments.
Yeah.
Says it's like, your opinion doesn't matter at all. And he'll say things like, well, I've never gotten a tag from a comment. It's like, well,
maybe you should.
Right. Yeah. Maybe you should get a, you know, hey, you're an asshole from the comments, or just some sort of like, you look for a repeating pattern, you know, even if you just pick 100 comments and see like if half of them are people saying you're doing this thing, maybe you're doing this thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right about that. And that brings me to my first question, which a lot of cats have been wondering about. I know me and Gerardo have been wondering about it. Is he doesn't read the comments. Yeah. He doesn't do social media, but does he have writers? And you don't have to say who they are, but like, if you want to, do you know, like, can you say who they are?
I know one person who's I'll describe an interaction. This person is a professional comic who recently put out a special that I think is very good. And this person comes from the world of advertising and marketing and is very good at that element of it. And also like as a creative professional, has a format of like, we start here and blah, blah, blah. And people, for example, they'll bring up the fact they went to the San Francisco Comedy College, you know, when like right out of my actual college. And that's always like a source of like ripping on me, you know, it's like, oh, Mr. Comedy College. But really what it is like, the benefit of things like that is it gives you like kind of a creative workflow, you know, that's almost like foolproof. Like if you start here, or you start with a topic and then move here. And so like, I think Brendan could almost, so this person, what I witnessed is like, oh yeah, you have your own version of that, and you kind of work through to like just make the best tags and whatever. And I saw them. I don't know what actually got implemented. I just know that I've seen him spend a couple sessions, and this person charges money for it. But like, you'd almost have to it goes deeper than that. You can't just write jokes for Brendan because you have to almost like explain comedy to him. Right?
Yeah, I can
because
see
in
that.
his mind, comedy's like saying mean things about other people.
Yeah. You have to be like, so Brennan, when you try the joke, it has to be funny.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and
Someone
honestly,
has to laugh
like,
after.
and so one of the things about that, like, again, in the SF Comedy College, it helped me kind of conceptualize even what a joke is, like that a verbal joke at least hinges on this double entendre, and the distance sort of between where you can get somebody's mind to go in the setup and where it ends up is like, you know, you could sort of say roughly, it's this, like the size of the laugh is like, how far can I get you to go this way, and hinge on a double entendre that takes you, like sort of wormholes you to this other place, this other image. And that always was just something that I think about, because I go like, if you're ever wondering, like, is this funny or not? You can kind of go like, well, does it like have a twist in it?
Yeah.
Does it have a misdirection?
But Brendan's twist, Schaub's twist is always that somebody's gay.
Correct. No, it's like hyper repetitive. And then again, even some of these things, it's just like, yes, there is a joke there, but I go like, if you took the underlying format to that and just go, I don't know, like, I think it would open up his creativity just to think about like the nature of comedy, and even, but then the real issue is introspection, because I don't.
You can't do that.
Correct. Like his comedy is a lot of projection. It's not a lot of introspection. He'll bring up stuff like his therapist or his mom, or like he almost like the misdirection is, I'm about to talk about myself, and then it's like, psych, my mom sucks, and my therapist sucks, and everybody sucks, and my wife sucks. You know,
I'm surprised he has a therapist, but there's too much.
I mean, therapist, yeah.
Like
I'm sure you know, it's like I went to you a few times.
Yeah, it's the hot chip guy. Wait, what's the hot chip guy's name? We say hot chip guy.
Nick, the producer, Nick. Yeah, he's a great guy. He's a really sweet guy.
Okay.
I know he gets a lot of shit.
He seems like, I only watched that one clip with him, but he seems nice.
Dude, the hot chip moment's endearing as fuck.
Yeah,
all he wants to
nice.
see is these guys take a hot chip.
You're absolutely right. It was an innocent moment, but it
it's
created
very
a comedy
funny.
classic when Theo just goes, I don't want that. But why would you? I was sitting there going like, there's no fucking way I need a hot chip right now just to ruin my day.
Yeah, no. Hot chip. I don't really like hot chips anymore because they hurt my stomach.
Several hours of pain? Like, no.
After 8 hours of podcasting. There's too much you'd have to teach Brendan before comedy, you know, because he doesn't know continents. He doesn't know where New England is. He doesn't know basic shit like human beings do. Like how to
content or continents? Social media continents?
Yeah, dude. Oh, man. I got another question about the Gringo Poppy for you.
Yeah.
You have a lot of questions about
I got a lot of questions about that. That's what we're fascinated.
Hey, when people pretend they're interested in me, that's my favorite thing. Okay? I'm soaking all this up, dude.
No. And drop any zingers, please. Yeah. But were there any other names considered for the Gringo Poppy special?
Yeah, dude, that's such a good question. I should have thought about this before. Yeah, like, because I know it. Like, he went through a few different things, and actually, like, to me, the Gringo Poppy is a good name. Yeah. Like, imagine a special that was like, that delved into like deeper stuff and kind of stuck maybe more to like actually exploring Mexican culture and how, like, no, right? Like,
No,
you can imagine like a wholesome, like, family, like,
there's gonna be times where we just break out laughing because, like,
that's fine.
this is just like,
but it's gonna make me go like, no, like I want to make this point because it sounds like you're right. I'm gonna
No,
yes.
it is, but where I'm coming from laughing is the fact that what the name represents now is hilarious when you try to think of what it could have been.
Right. And it couldn't, like, it's transcended the like you can never put those words together again without like, you know what I mean? It's like
it can't be said anymore. Like, he's destroyed part of the Spanish language.
You can't, right? Like he fucking
Latin American president
to those words, you know.
He really did.
Colonized those words.
He colonized the words too. He offends everybody over every spectrum.
Right. And
this
it's
is
funny
bigger than
because
like
and also think about, because I'm, for example, so like, you know, I love the Spanish language. It's fun for me to speak. I studied it for like 7 years growing up. And if I meet, so like when I'm at his house, I remember I sang for her in Spanish. I was like, solo han pasado algunos días, todo ha cambiado. You know, so I'll bust out these Spanish songs. I remember exactly.
You really do.
Yeah, I really do.
We wanted to choose the song today.
But, you know, I say that because it's one of my little stupid techniques to be like, hey, I speak Spanish, and then you're kind of on the same page because, like, again, if you're like, the Spanish is such an easy language to learn.
Yeah.
So if you're like, you're married to Mexican, the whole family's Mexican, you never opened up Duolingo or something and fucking took a course. Like, so he knows zero Spanish, and it comes off like. And also, like, there is so much, to me, greatness about Mexico and Mexican culture, and like there's a richness there that like dating back to the ancient cultures of the mind. Like, there's so much you could go if you're going like, I want to make this special themed around Mexico and my Mexican wife. There's so much depth, you know, you could go into.
No, you're 100%.
And he was just like, taquitos.
Yeah. Hot Cheetos.
Like, hot Cheetos.
The joke after you saying that, the joke he came up with after not considering any of that was them eating hot Cheetos.
Right. And it's like, that is something I remember going to, like, I used to substitute teach and I'd go around to schools and be like, oh yeah, like Mexican kids do love hot Cheetos, but it is the most basic observation. It's like, and I don't think his wife likes hot Cheetos. Like, I think it's probably made up.
No chance. She's like a fitness influencer. She's not eating that shit. And I doubt her old ass mom is walking around with a bag of hot Cheetos.
Oh, first of all, wait. Have you guys ever seen her mom?
No.
Because how do you imagine her when he portrays her in the special?
I picture like a
she can't
grandma,
speak
like a
abuelita. like with like an abuelita, and she's making like handmade tortillas with like a flour, like whatever.
She's like a CEO.
You know, She like doesn't know how to use a cell phone, and it's like frail and like, oh, hijo, please, por favor. You know, no me gusta.
That's what you said.
You know, right? Like, you just, an image comes to mind.
Yeah.
Here's what she actually looks like. She's like, she's in her 50s. She looks like she could be late 40s. Gorgeous, like very pretty.
Wow.
Incredible body. Like, she's a sexy 50-year-old woman who you wouldn't pick out of a lineup and say she's Mexican. You'd be like, oh, she looks like she could be like French, Spanish, Argentinian, something like that. Like, like there's nothing stereotypically Mexican about her besides a slight accent on top of otherwise perfect English. Yeah. Mark, I wanted to talk to you about something like she has like Spanish rhythm of speaking English, but like, the idea, like, I mean, he spends all this time like building up his joke, like, she doesn't speak English, but she doesn't, right? But she doesn't, right? She doesn't,
though.
But she doesn't, though. It's like, really? Like, and then having to do that in front of your family, like, what was there like a warning, like, hey, guys, I made all this shit up, you know?
Yeah.
What about the stucco thing? Do you know anything like the Dallas skyline? Do you know who did that, or like how that idea came about?
Tiger in Boston.
Tiger in Boston made it?
They cut it out with scissors and construction paper.
Shit.
No, I'm kidding.
That makes sense.
I knew he was kidding. I laughed with it.
Yeah.
But then I was like, that would be so funny if it was true, but no.
Yeah, that was a funny reference when they brought it up on, I mean, I assume this is in part a reference to Steve-O being like, that's where the gringo poppy was filmed.
Honestly, we saw that, but it's because Walsh, which I'm wearing the World Record pod, shout out. Walsh was like, I think he either asked me on his pod or we've just been talking about it. He's like,
Walsh said that he wants to see the documentary of the making of the stucco, all that.
Yeah, we want a documentary about the Gringo Poppy because we find it fascinating.
Like, there's so many great documentaries. Have you seen Overnight with that guy? I think it's like he did, is something Duffy? He did...
Boondock Saints?
Yeah,
I saw that shit is crazy.
Yeah, but there's and also I watched this documentary of that YouTube guy FouseyTube who like he was
oh
trying to
yeah, I saw that one,
and he was like having this manic episode. It's like there are some great like moments or these documentaries that are basically like we need to start filming right now. Like this is magic happening, and I don't. Like in retrospect, I don't know. Like yes, like if I could see the future, I'd be like, "Hey, dude, I'm gonna do stuff behind the scenes, doc. You know, of all this shit."
So that brought me to one of my questions I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
As we all know, he was looking for a new, some sort of social media manager recently.
Yeah.
And I want to know how hard it is. Like, is there any chainmail around getting into the Thick Boy crew?
That's a good question because I think I don't know what his hiring process is, and actually, I think when he was putting out the ad, it was more like. I think if we're talking about the same thing, he was looking for like a YouTube specialist because he always wants people to kind of be, it's like he hired Mike Nell, who's a creative director, and Mike comes from like this film background and does all these things really well as far as like creating content. He's really smart and like able to organize and kind of like lead a shoot. So like in many ways, he's great at his job, but like, is that guy also going to be like a YouTube expert strategist? Like that you can't have all people be all things. But he kind of would be like, what the fuck? Like, why can't we figure YouTube out? It's like, well, there's people that like, that's their job. You know what I mean? Like when then they worked for YouTube last year and, you know, or still do. So I think that was the thing because, you know, he and I'm not saying it couldn't help him, but I think he gets himself into these positions where, you know, he's buying all these views and maybe followers too. Cause I always like, I'm looking at the page and I'm like, you kind of got to like 100,000, like 150 really quickly. And it's kind of like stalled out. Like, who knows? But like when you buy views, you know, like the YouTube experts can be like, oh yeah, your page is fucked. Like you can't grow, you know, your algorithm's screwed, and I don't know how you reset that.
Yeah, you can't pay for engagement.
You can't. That's a really old game to play because like, you know, as the algorithm gets more sophisticated and these tech companies become more sophisticated, of course they're going to catch on to that and punish you. Just even, you
somebody dumb like Schaub, of course he'll get caught doing anything, right? Anything he does, they're going to his hands in the cookie jar.
He does, exactly.
The kratom jar. He's so stupid. Or go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to say, yes, he always does the dumbest thing, gets caught, and like is always snitching on himself.
Yeah,
by projecting in a lot of ways.
Right. But. Who did somebody open for him at the Gringo Poppy? Was there like another comedian?
Yeah, David Lucas and Chappelle.
Oh wow.
Okay, so they were both there.
Beasts of comics, you know. But he would still like rip on them both. Like David was funny as watching him like go around the country. Like he'd like apologize for Dave's act. Like so Dave comes out there and you know he does like. You know, some really, I don't know if you're familiar with his like humor at all.
He's like a roast guy, right?
Yeah. And so a lot of his, it's almost like he's got this kind of like black Anthony Jeselnik. It's not like, it's not as dark, but like a lot of his jokes are maybe abortion focused or just like he's provoking you in some way. I think it's a lot of it's really good.
Okay.
But like, sure, you can go to Salt Lake City, Utah, and there's going to be some people in the audience who are like, you know?
Right.
However, you knew what his act is before you brought him on the road. And so to bring this guy on and then kind of like get on stage and from his perspective, from Brandon's perspective, he's like, I'm just bringing everybody back. But he'll be like, Jesus Christ, Dave. Like he'll do like 3 minutes on like, oh my God, David's so offensive. And it's like, what? Like, you know, but that's just his MO for everything. Yeah. It's like, I'm going to make myself look bigger and shit on you, even though like, again, David's like, I think David's a star. And I think Chappelle's a star too.
That's what this guy was telling me about. There was, I forget his name. I'd say it if I remember, but he was an old graphics guy for Schaub.
Yeah.
And he was saying that like Schaub, all he cared about was making Brian look bad. Like he was like, make Brian look gay.
I couldn't, like that makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
And that seems to be his MO. And just, again, as you get closer to him, once kind of, you know, there's this like love bombing phase and he like, there was a period of time where if he'd said something, if I remember one time he called me on a pod, he said, oh yeah, Mark's like my, like what's the animal like where you like take it around my like it's like if you're blind, it's like my service animal.
Seeing eye dog? Or,
yeah. He said like, oh, Mark's like my service animal or something, my anxiety. Yeah. And I wouldn't have even cared about that, but he texted me. He's like, hey man, I didn't mean it. I'm like, no, that's fine. Like you wanted me, to me it was like, oh, you want me around because like I, you know, make you feel good or something. That's fine. But then he'd start to say more offensive things over time. Next month, it's like, oh yeah, Mark's like Animal from the Muppets. And I'm like, am I? Like I'm reckless and fucking chaotic. Like, you know, it's always like, under the guise of a joke, it's always this like really unflattering portrait of you. Where like he'd go out of his way to be like, Mark, when Mark eats, it's so disgusting. But then there's like pictures of Schaub eating like,
he should never talk about somebody eating.
Right. And so
you can't even find a straw. The straw thing is amazing.
Well, yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah, because he'll look at other stuff that's not a straw and be like, "You're not a straw, B."
It makes me. He treats Brian so bad. It makes me feel like I need to treat Gerardo better. I don't want to say Gerardo's Netflix.
Seriously. Okay? When I was sometimes it would be uncomfortable in the TFAT-K room because I remember one time. I don't know if you guys ever use psychedelics, but you know.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just a big
Allegedly.
allegedly. You know. I'm a big fan of microdosing and macrodosing, but like, you know, microdosing has helped me get through some depression and whatnot. Sure. And not that I'd recommend it to everybody, but I would at least like, I'd try to download my experiences to people because I go, yeah, like it's a unique drug experience. It's not like popping Adderall or doing things that are really addictive. You can't really get addicted to them. But in some ways it can provide like a spark that you need to get through something. Anyway, Brian came in and wanted to talk about his LSD experience. And I was all for it. I'm like, yes, it's exciting. Cause I'm like, you haven't done this before. And you're kind of it's hard to describe a psychedelic experience sometimes, you know, and why it enhances your creativity and puts you in this positive mood. But like, I like dissecting that kind of stuff. Brendan couldn't have been more negative and dismissive and just insulting about it. And I was just like, oh, this like hurts my heart. You know, like it was like beyond funny or like, except, okay, this is a dynamic. He was just like, who cares? Dude, you're too old. Dude, who cares? No, I'll never do like, it was just like, you know, Brian's trying to like, yes, and him and kind of get something. And it was just like, no.
Psychedelics, you talking alpha brain B? Like,
but you know, he'll dismiss it like, man, I took mushrooms once, so like microdose, and it made me feel weird.
Yeah.
It's called self-reflection.
Yeah. I mean, they're great. So another thing where he's stupid. Were any jokes cut out of the Gringo Poppy that you can remember?
He did film an entire hour set, and he's doing, you know, okay, let me start this off with saying, I saw him and Anthony Jeselnik talk before a show one time in the green room, and he had referenced a time before when he was like trying to like give Anthony Jeselnik advice, and it was in front of other people, and he kind of framed it as like, oh yeah, Anthony snapped at me, but I'm like, well yeah, you were trying to like, he's one of the greatest living comics, dude. You know what I mean? Like his special crush, and he's also like, he's kind of got this mystique where like, he doesn't even need to use Instagram or social media. It's just like, you know, like when Anthony Jeselnik drops a special, like I'm watching it, you know? And I've seen him perform enough times where like, you obviously know it's like, he's all about comedy and doesn't give a fuck. And, Brendan tried to say, he's like, oh yeah, well you should try to like this. And like, he was kind of giving him like, cause Brendan in his mind is like, oh, well I'm like a business and marketing guy, so I'm trying to give Anthony Jeselnik advice. But he made it seem like he's like, Anthony's talking this way. And it's kind of like, hey Brendan, I think I got it. Like he like gives him like, he says that and like winks at him. I'm like, that was Anthony Jeselnik's way of being like, hey, you fucking idiot. Don't ever talk to me about anything relating to my career again. And then the second part of it was when I saw them talking, he was kind of like, man, you know, I think the new thing is because like one of his rationales for only releasing 25 minutes of this set, because it was an hour-long set. He's like, well, no, they have the analytics in on Netflix. People only watch, you know, 28 minutes of a special. And I'm like, I don't even know what that means, but I wouldn't take that as like just release 28 minutes, you know, because then people, it's like, well, you know, maybe it's because people watch half of it. Or I don't know, like, or if you're taking an average, it's like, well, maybe there's just some that people turn off after 3 minutes because it sucks, and then people watch an hour of the other one. It doesn't tell me anything personally. But
watch time is based off of average or like percentage.
Correct.
But also too, when I put on the Gringo Poppy, maybe he's onto something because I can't look away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right, you guys watch it multiple times. So the final thing about the Jeselnik was he's like, no, you should, like, a lot of people are just like filming like half an hour and then you still have your other hour. And Jeselnik was very diplomatic, and this wasn't an insult, but I liked how he thought about it. He was like, actually, like, I do the whole hour because to me, each one of my hours is like a novel. Like, I'm not going to release half the novel. And I was like, yeah, like, and that just, I think, showcases his artist's mind about it, that he's like, this is a unit. I'm not going to be like, oh, and then I can have this for the road. It's like, no, you start over and write more. Okay. You know, but yes, to answer your question fully, there was many jokes that he's still doing in his set, and it's funny because it'd be like, all new hour. It's like, but it's not.
Right.
You know, and not that I don't think he's shortchanging people as far as time, because he will go an hour 20, whatever, and try new stuff and have fun. But like, there's definitely jokes that he's still doing. He filmed on the Gringo Poppy and took out, and I don't even know what the justification. Like, I wasn't in the editing room, you know. I've since like learned editing and feel like, well, actually, I edited a lot of his stand-up clips, like even just from like before I knew Adobe. Like, I was like, I don't know, this doesn't need to be fucking 3 minutes. Let me get it down to 90 seconds just on my phone, you know. just to take out of the.
What's like one joke that, if you can remember, that he's cut out that he's still doing?
Fat Spider-Man.
Oh,
heard about this one?
Have you heard that?
No, I'm very interested.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So, there's this whole bit about how for his kid's birthday during quarantine, they hire like this Spider-Man to come to the birthday party. And it's like this fat Mexican dude who they paid $40, $10 an hour, and he stays for 6 hours or whatever. And like, the whole joke is about like, he's all coked, like he goes into the bathroom and does all the Mexican cocaine or all the Colombian cocaine, and comes out. He's like, whoa, let's go. Like, whoa. And the whole thing is kind of like he, like, again, like this person is incompetent and stupid. Part of it is his wife incompetent and stupid because she hired the guy off Yelp, and it's like a 1-star review. And it's like, oh, there's a Spider-Man rental on Yelp, and like it's one, like none of it makes any sense. Like you're bringing this guy to your, like he's overweight and like a Mexican day laborer who does Spider-Man, and he like drove 3 hours to come here, and he's been doing coke the whole
how does he know that he did cocaine?
Right. Yeah, it's like oh, you like. If you believe at face value the joke that he's making, and it's one of these stupid things where like, unless the guy actually did coke, like I don't want that to be made up in the joke.
Yeah.
Like I want to be like, it seemed like, you know what I mean? But it's like, so you're stating confidently the guy went into your bathroom in your luxurious Tarzana home and came out like and he had like coke on his face, and you're like, and that guy I'm gonna like interact with my kids? What?
It makes no sense. I'm thinking of Brendan like with glasses and like a pencil.
Yeah.
And he's like writing with
right.
Like,
no, because you go, some of these jokes, I have no fucking idea where they start. Like the dick pic joke about me that we were talking about. I'm I don't even know what the origin of that is. Like it's not. There's not a single thing about it grounded in reality except that I'm on steroids, but fuck you.
Too, that joke is Kevin Hart's joke. Remember the joke about the SpongeBob at the party? That's all coked out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
really?
so that's another thing he stole then.
Oh my God. See, I don't know. Like, and that honestly would solve a lot of the mystery, but because it's very difficult to see that happen.
Yeah.
And then another joke was about, he doesn't have the one where he takes, this is another example of like even his kids are stupid and incompetent. Like in his, and somebody recently was like, well, Louis C.K. made this. I'm like, when you do it, Louis C.K., it's like you get like a 4-year-old that's like, it's called Pig Newtons. I don't know if you know that one. I'm not saying my cat Pig Newtons because they're like, it was like an argument. He's making fun of himself going, I'm the dumbass who's going, it's Fig Newtons. And the kid's like, it's Pig Newtons, But in Brendan's joke world, Tiger, who is actually a really great athlete for his age, and he's bigger than everyone, like he's going to BJJ class and fucking people up. Like they can't even put him with the other 6-year-olds. He has to go with like 11-year-olds who are good to like even get a challenge. So like that is relevant because on the show, in his show, he goes, my son Tiger got his first takedown the other day at BJJ. No, don't applause. 2 years in, first takedown, come on, not my son. Like, he does this whole thing about like, he sucks at BJJ. So like, the premise of this, it couldn't just be like, oh, he did good one day. It has to be like, he hasn't gotten a takedown in 2 years. Like, are you insane? And then the premise is like, he goes to the ice cream store and sets up this whole thing where he's in the ice cream and like, they go, Tiger, they don't have strawberry, your favorite flavor. And he goes, fuck, and like that's like the whole joke. And then it's like, oh my God, like this relatable dad just with this shitty unathletic kid who's just screaming curse words in the pump, So
bad news for us if Tiger grows up to be a very good MMA person.
Yeah, bad news.
He'll probably kick our ass.
Yeah. I don't know. He seems sweet. And then there was one about, he does a whole bit about O.J. Simpson, like,
I don't know that one.
Yeah, and that's one of my the bits I think he should have put out. I don't know, like maybe he wanted to keep doing it. I think it's pretty good actually. He talks about O.J. Simpson's Twitter. Hello, Twitter world. You guys know that.
Yeah.
And so he breaks
Rogan
down like, wait, what?
Rogan always says that, doesn't he? Hello, Twitter
not as a
world.
stand-up joke, but on his podcast, he's always talking about the
So
fun of OJ, but
I wonder who put who onto that little world. But, and then he kind of makes
the answer.
There's some better like tags to that chunk of jokes because he'll be like, he put this cookbook out. If I cooked it, he sells knives online. Like that's a joke. Like,
bad.
So there's just better. I think it's a more well-developed thing. But again, he's taking OJ, who's already this kind of like, it's an easy target. There's already all this ridiculous shit about it, and then he has to like add on top of it, be like, OJ's so ridiculous that he's like, I don't see the problem with all this people getting vaccinated. Like, why are you scared to get vaccinated? It's easy. You go in, you get stabbed. And it's like, you know, and there's a lot of like knife, but it's like, that's all fake, but he's passing off his, but like, so it's like still like, look at how stupid and like crazy OJ is.
Does he question OJ's sexual orientation?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay. I would.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, yeah, everybody but OJ apparently.
So you mentioned the road, B. I had some questions about the road. What clubs does Brendan do the best at?
Let me think about that for a second. So
or the worst.
Oh, okay.
Either one. Both.
I'll answer both. Yes. Because that's the thing. People go like, "Oh, does he have any fans?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, there people come to see his shows. It's just like, it's not like, you know, I don't know. When you see like videos of like Chris D'Elia is like selling out fucking theaters and shit, and like, you know, I don't know per se, like I can't answer this question. I think it's a mix of factors, and he's been trying to figure out like, why did I sell more in this? But like Texas is usually good markets for him. You know, some California, like San Diego, like he sold out like every night in San Diego at the Laugh Factory, even during Comic-Con, you know, so I've definitely seen some really packed audiences, and like people come out, people who still know who he is, and also I want to say this, the atmosphere at his shows is not like it's not a good time. You know, like if you're seeing Chappelle Lacey and Justin Elliott and David Lucas, you know, and you're into black comics, then that's your bag, baby, you know.
Interesting.
And then Brendan comes on stage and they're like, who is this motherfucker?
Yeah, and he's like, I'm not racist. I have 3 opening black guys. You know?
He's like Elvis. He's like, you know, using black culture to succeed.
Right.
Elvis, Eminem, Bill Clinton. Interesting move.
So I honestly, I couldn't tell you what, you know, whether that's a conscious effort on his, but but nobody, like I think people like, you'll get your money's worth whether or not you like Brendan's comedy. The show in its entirety is really good. But to answer your question, I remember we went to Appleton, Wisconsin, and like the Thursday night show was like 12 people generously like in the crowd. And it was like, this is now I don't know. Again, I don't know what the fuck goes into that. Fort Wayne, Indiana were some rough shows. And I remember that was actually one where he's like, man, I like somebody gave him the wrong numbers or something. Or maybe somebody trolled him, like bought a bunch of tickets and they didn't show up. I have no clue. But like he was convinced that like the Thursday night show was like already sold out. And we showed up, it's like, there's 20 people here. And again, I'm not like, I don't like to use that kind of like, he can't sell tickets or this and that. Cause it's like, get one person to show up and pay $20 to see you do stand up. Like that's impressive to me. But when you kind of make that your own metric of like other people's worth, you know, and then thus your own, like, well, then, then people are going to wield that against you. You know what I mean? Because he's very quick to dismiss others as not being able to sell tickets.
Well, also too, he like showboated the fact that he got to jump the line. You know what I mean?
Correct. And
that's the problem.
Yeah, and I think I've been thinking about this recently because I go, you know, you guys both started out at open mics, right?
Yes.
And I always tell people that I'm like, if you think like Dane Cook isn't funny or something like that. I remember when that was like, there's always this comedian to be like, this person's not funny, or even Brendan, like, you know, because I will I'll readily give him credit for all these things that I do think he's good at, you know, and I think that lends more validity to when you do critique him. But I go, you think like Avatar 2's bad? Go see a student film. You think Dane Cook is not funny? Go see an open mic. Yeah. And you've probably seen some of the most painful performances, like, you know, like 3 minutes can be a very long time if you're dealing with a delusional person who doesn't know how to like even formulate something resembling a joke.
Shout out Ian Russo. Yeah.
Is that him?
You think the earthquake in Syria is bad? Go see Crinkle Poppy. That might be too far. I apologize. We'll donate money or something.
I bring up open mics to go, you guys have developed some skills to be like, there's not a lot of like, you can kind of like, it's like, there's not a lot of people here. They're not paying attention. I'm going to use a trick. I'm going to develop a trick. And I relate to that in the sense I used to substitute teach, and I'd walk into some hostile environments and like you develop, you got to learn real quick or they're going to eat you up. You know, they'll light you up, B.
I got a question about that.
Yeah.
So you work security for him, right? That's real.
Like, he would say that, but that's actually something where it's like, I mean, I know I was like, yes. And like, there was a time when like, you know, so like, and this, I would go for all my friends. Like, I don't mind getting in a fight. Like I'm reckless in that regard. Not that I'm some fucking tough guy, but it's like, I'm not scared of getting punched in the face, and I've been in fights and played football. Like, so physical contact with other men doesn't scare me. And I do like to think of myself as like, if shit went down, I'm going to be running toward it rather than away from it. So like in that sense, out of his crew, like, yeah, like if somebody's trying to attack Brendan, of course I would be helping out. And of course I would be like, that goes for anybody in the club really. And I think that maybe was a legitimate like concern on his end at some point. He does have haters. He did have people who would like threaten to come and this and that, but like usually you pay people for that job.
Yeah.
So
you did free security.
Like he would call me security, and I knew I had to like okay, I'd have to like be with him during the day. We'd go to Boston or something. It's like group activities. Like, well, if I'm security for you, I kind of have to like be with the group, right?
Right.
And then I'm also like showing up to the club. If it's 2 shows, it's like I'm there at 6:20 p.m. before the 7 p.m. show, and then I'm there till midnight or after. So these hours add up. Like if I'm just doing social media, like if you're a social media account manager, you're not traveling with somebody and doing security. So it's like, what are the actual hours of this, and then plus this, and then I'm supposed to focus on here while also doing, but that's just, that's kind of telling as far as like how he sees people. It's like, what do you mean? Like, you have a free minute during the day, like give that to me, or what? Like, why aren't you doing everything all at once?
That's crazy. But did you ever have to like do security on a thick boy? Like one of these thick boy fans?
Well, that's the thing is also like, I'd like I used to wrestle when I wrestled in high school. I'd go up against heavyweights. I was like a smaller, so like a big guy of like 270 or 300 pounds. Like that's not inherently intimidating to me. I'd actually probably be scared of like if you're like 180, wiry, and have cauliflower ear. Like I'm getting, I'm going to be like, this guy's probably like quicker and trains combat sports and stuff like that. But if you look like a football player, like an O lineman, it's like I've dealt with O linemen before. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so again, people don't believe me, but I'm like, like there was this huge thing on the subreddit because like I was when Darren Till talked shit about Brendan Schaub when he posted this video, it was like petition to get Brendan Schaub out of MMA because they like congratulated Logan Paul after he like boxed Floyd Mayweather or something like that. And I was like, I said something like, hey, Darren, you've won like one of your last 5 fights, like maybe it's time to get you out of MMA or something. And people are like, oh my God. And they're like, Darren Till will beat your ass. Like you'd never fucking fight him. I'm like, no, I'd fight him. Like if you gave me enough money, I'd step in a cage with him. I'm not guaranteeing an outcome, but like I can honestly say like and people go, oh, you wouldn't be scared at all. It's true. Every fight. I'm like, I'm not saying I wouldn't feel fear. I'm saying that I believe that I would be willing to step in the face and step in a cage and risk getting hit in the face multiple times by Darren Till. That doesn't give me a $500,000 paycheck. Doesn't sound so scary, does it? But I'm in no way going around like I could fucking beat up UFC fighters. Like I'm not that, but I'm just like.
Yeah, I doubt.
But you would too. Like if somebody offered you enough money, like what's the worst gonna happen? I get knocked out.
Yeah,
who cares?
Yeah, it'd have to be a lot for me to fight Darren. But I meant more like,
but no, a guy your size.
Yeah,
or a guy smaller. Like TJ Dillashaw. It's like we'd be like, TJ Dillashaw is gonna beat me up. Who gives a shit?
I get beat up by some like woman that just started fighting. But
right, there's a price in everything. Everybody has a price.
You're probably right. You're probably right. Did you ever actually have to fight any of these fans?
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, and actually, I'll give credit to the people who come to the shows because that's always one of the questions that people want to know is like, what's the thick boy fandom like? It's like, it's a lot of normal ass people. You know what I mean? They're looking for a good time, and either you're into MMA or you've seen Brendan before. There's all these funnels that would bring you to a show, or you get offered free tickets, something like that, and
flappers,
flappers, and so. I met a lot of really cool people because also like it was cool. Probably the coolest part of going on the road because like I'm waking up at 5 a.m. to go pick them up and here, and then I can't work out or train people when I'm it took me away from a lot. My girl hated me, traveling. She's like, we don't fucking when was the last time we went on a date on Saturday night? And she's valid for saying that and feeling that, but like the highlight was always meeting people after the show. And there's a lot of, totally regular, like, because most people, like, if you ask the average person on the street, I don't think most people realize they're not going to be able to name like 20 comedians. You know what I mean? They're like, who would you go see if you saw their name on a marquee? Like most people would probably know Anthony.
People, right. Yeah, they probably, there's 1,000 of them, but
Yeah. So it's like you meet like, because people you just forget, like you'll say, I don't know, like, there's this comics that I know, like even I'm like, oh, that person's really mainstream, and you'll talk to me, it's like I have no clue who that is, and that's fine, But normal people, lots of blue collar people, and also just like legit interesting people that I've kept in contact with, So the fans are all cool, and only a few times somebody. Oh, here's a funny thing. I just fucking remember this was the one time that I didn't have to actually get physical with somebody.
Nice.
Brendan was wrapping up a show in the Houston Improv, and there was this dude who comes out, and he had this Indian accent, and he was like livid over like Brendan's show. He goes like, "This man is not funny. He's not funny. He's talking about dicks. I don't like it." Like he was like offended about.
He's a smart guy.
And he goes, "That man is gay. He is gay." Like blah blah blah. And I'm like, and I just like I felt like kind of starting a fight. Like this is you made
tables have turned.
Yeah. Oh, how the turntables turn. And so he's sitting there going like, this fucking man at the time, like I'm standing up for Brian. I'm like, yeah, like you don't like it, leave. And he's like, no, like he kind of was like persistent and drunk. He's like, he's fucking gay and he's not funny and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, and I get up in his face and I'm like, you know what, dude? You're gay. And he's like, no, you're gay. And I just like, and so I was like up in his face and kind of like, he's like, what are you going to do? Beat me up? And he was like the opening the double doors were right behind him. And so what I did was like, I like lifted my leg up and kicked right behind him to open up the doors. And then I pushed him through and like he stumbled out backwards and like the door closed. So it was like a nice little like, stay out, Good. I didn't want to like actually kick him, but like I just like when I threw him off guard and I kicked the door, opened him up. And then
that's awesome.
He was being a dick and he kept coming back and like talking shit. So like the cops escorted, he was drunk and being kind of disorderly, but That was, that was
thank you for getting rid of that thick boy.
What's funny is he wasn't really that big. It was kind of like, and he like left his girl inside, like I think his girl was still enjoying the show and he's like, this is gay, she's fucking gay, everybody gay.
She went home with Schaub that night.
Right.
To walk into his truck.
Yeah.
A truck walk situation. I'll ask you a question I asked Sean. I don't know if you saw the Sean McCorkle interview we did.
I did, yeah.
Oh, you watched?
Me and Sean are frenemies.
Yeah. Oh, really? Okay.
Well, okay. The funny thing is, he like, do you mind if I say? You can ask me first. But the setup to our relationship, and again, I watched the interview with him. I think he's a really smart, funny guy, and I don't doubt a lot of this. And when he talks about these stories of like going in for the TV show audition and having his own jokes, like it strikes me as a guy who should have done stand-up comedy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's really funny.
Yeah, he's really funny. And, I think he's a thoughtful guy. And I relate to him after Matt Mitrione. Actually, it was funny enough, like, because Matt Mitrione's his good friend.
Yeah.
I was in, like, this rain, like, tent before a Tough Mudder that Matt Mitrione came out. And then, like, he bailed. He did, like, 3 miles of the Tough Mudder and was like, I'm out, dude. But we're sitting there getting ready for it. And I get this message on my phone. Somebody's like, why'd you back out of this fight with Sean McCorkle? I'm like, what? Like, who's Sean McCorkle? I honestly had never heard of him before. And then he links me to this Reddit post and it's this elaborate story, like, like BGL was talking shit online. So I told him like, I'll fucking beat your ass and like blah, blah, blah. And I'm coming out to LA and he was like, yeah, let's do it. And then he talks to Schaub and he realized like, oh, Sean's actually serious. Like it was very elaborate. It was like a multi-paragraph story that didn't happen in any facet. And so I was just kind of confused. I'm like, it's a bizarre thing to just like, it's one thing to have people talk shit about you. It's another thing to have a guy just like make up this like short story about you in which like he challenges you to fight and then it's like, I wouldn't like, he's a 6'7" UFC fighter. I'm not trying to fight that guy on the street for free. You know what I mean? Like
people just do that on YouTube and Reddit. They just make stuff up. It's weird, like they make up a narrative.
Right. Yeah. That's your narrative. I should have said that. That's your narrative, B. But like now, in retrospect, if what he was trying to do is like get to Brendan through me or whatever, like I can assign a number of different motives that are sort of acceptable to me. I don't know if he still does have something personal, but again, like anybody that had anything personal against me because of my association with Brendan, I get it,
Yeah.
So I don't feel any animosity towards it. It was a little weird. I was just luckily I like said like, who's Sean McCorkle out loud? Yeah. And Matt Mitrione's like, oh, like he starts cracking up. He's like, oh, that dude's like hilarious and he's one of my good friends. And he just like he called him a verbal chef. So like, that is true that he's a very good writer.
Oh yeah.
A really funny, but also he was like, oh yeah, he just makes up crazy shit all the time. It's like, all right, I don't feel bad about that.
Yeah.
But then, I saw a post with him recently where he's kind of like, yeah, I guess the enemy of my enemy is my friend, but I think BGL is still a huge douchebag. And it's like, that's fine. You can think that, but also like, I want the world to know like the thing that you posted on Reddit was just like, 100% fabricated, and he said he blocked me on social. He was like, and then Mark blocked me everywhere. And I was like, oh, interesting. Cause when I click on your Instagram, like it shows that you blocked me and I still have the option to block you if you know how that works. But
it's all Schaub's fault. Right.
It's like, look, if I like this guy wouldn't be singling me out if I wasn't associated with Schaub.
if you get close to Schaub, you get Gadouche in some way.
Correct.
And we can probably smooth things over with the CEO, Schaub. We have no sway with him, but he's a reasonable.
No, I like him. Like,
guy.
there's no animosity in mine. I think he's hilarious, and I hope that he can look at this situation and be like, oh yeah, like, you know, do you think I'm a douche just because of Schaub, or did I, you know? And again, because I'm the kind of guy, like, it's like if you feel like I did something to you personally, I want to take accountability for that, you know. And if not, well, then, you know, maybe you got a weird issue going on.
Yeah. I think if Sean knew about me and Gerardo's personal lives, he'd probably feel worse than he feels about you. So, wait, what are you saying? I'm just kidding. I'm just saying we suck. It don't matter. Yeah. But anyways, the question I was going to ask you is, with the eating of food while he talks to people, is that like CTE or is that disrespect, or why does he constantly do that? He has always something.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's another one of these examples of something where it's, you know, a rule for me, but not for thee, or whatever that phrase is that I'm sure I'm butchering, but it's so much, you know, and again, I'll use the narcissist term over and over again because it is appropriate, but it's a set of rules for this one person, and he acts like a hypocrite because he's very, very judgmental about other people eating. Like every time that I ate, like, you know, I work out, like, I'm going to go home after this and probably eat like 6 eggs and a ribeye and a fucking potato and like mash it, like, you know, it's going to be a lot of food because I'm 250 pounds and I lifted weights today, you know? So get off my nuts, you know, like if I'm having a second slice of lava cake at the Improv, you know, like, but
he got on you for that?
Oh, dude, and I'm just like, if you're trying to like shame me for eating, like you're talking to the wrong guy, dude. You know, I was born in the overeating. You know?
Really, dude?
And so anytime like he kind of makes you just feel on edge with eating because all the eating is like connected to him. So like, let's say you're like, no, I'm going to go eat by myself. Well, like, he doesn't give you per diem. So if you're on the road with him, normally like, you know, any TV show or anything that I've worked where you do a commercial or something, you fly, like they're giving you money for any time that you're not on set to like cover your food.
Yeah.
Schaub will pay for your food. So I give it to him, like he will take care of you when you're on the road, but it's kind of like, well, we're all eating in the same restaurant together. And what that gives him is the power to be like, dude, really? Like you ordered that? Or like, dude, slow down. Or he'll just go, please stop eating. Mark, please stop eating.
That's annoying as shit.
It's annoying as shit because like we'll be in the Improv and it's like, yeah, man, maybe I only had like a light breakfast and then I'm going to have 12 chicken tendies, you know?
Right.
And, but, you know, like stuff like that where it's like, I don't like obviously I don't eat that much or I'm getting fat. Like I may, like binge eating is still kind of fun to me, you know, do on a Saturday night. It's like, yeah, man, I'm not going to get plastered, but I might have like, you know, some chocolate cake. And I don't think that's the worst thing in the world, but he like really, you can always tell there's like this tension of like, he doesn't want you to eat around him when he's not eating, especially like he's got some weird hangups about eating. But then after the show, it's always like, let's go get pizza. I'm like, dude, I just like, there's free food here and we just ate it. And I think he doesn't like to eat maybe because he's like nervous before going on stage or something like that. But like, it's always like any principle that he has is like, you know, I'm going to be gross, but if you said anything to him while he's eating, lights out, dude.
I wonder what his therapist thinks about food truck diaries then, you know?
Right.
Like, why would he have
it's always
thing
like,
then?
it's this world of concept. Like, I want to do carnivore and keto and get ripped, you know, like Mark, but also like, there's a donut in the logo of my company and I'm calling myself fat, you know?
Yeah, his
like,
whole thing is he's thick. You know that movie, The Menu, where they do this? You know,
God, that was such a good movie. Did you like that?
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
I liked it until that girl asked for a cheeseburger.
There's parts
Don't
of it
ever
I don't
disrespect
like.
me like that.
I am scared now.
There's definitely some good lines in it. It was entertaining.
Because I went into it too. I used to like, I would consider myself a movie buff, like, you know, like in the sense that I love, who got into it late, but I was like, you know, watched a lot of Netflix in my day. But I used to watch all these trailers. I really did. Like when I'd like try to pimp it out so you get like 18 like discs of like a week or something like that. Like I'm watching this one in the morning because it comes in and then sending the other like I'll send it out the same day.
Same,
you know, the Netflix pimping. But I remember not watching the trailer, so I didn't know anything about it. And then just wondering, I'm like, that was really surprisingly good, you know?
Yeah, it was cool. Back to the Gringo Poppy.
Yeah.
I'm not.
You were going to say something about the eating, right? You
The menu. Yeah.
Yes.
What was your question about that? Yeah.
It would just be funny if at Food Truck Diaries they had a similar kind of thing. Like Brendan's so crazy,
like conceptual
he's just,
art,
doing this shit, and then
there's a setup where it's like, you know, and like we flew him all the way out from Denver, Colorado, and we're feeding him shrimp tacos, you know, and he's like, and we're doing a conceptual art piece in which he is the food because he eats his opponents, you know.
Dude, that sounds like...
Why did your wife leave you?
Yeah.
100% he would do
reenact your childhood. Here's baby food.
That's probably what he eats now. But brain-wise. Or soon. That's coming. He's at that function level of his brain, I think, you know, if you watch him.
Trending in that direction.
What's the worst bomb you've seen from him?
That's a good question. I don't know if I've seen him like when
it's too hard to answer. I'm interrupting you.
Like, how much time you got, B?
I would say this. I'd say more people are like, if you're there to see him and it's your audience, it's a lot of things, and not that that's bad or anything, but like, you know, maybe in there was a lot of people who would come out after the shows and be like tell Chappelle, like Chappelle was even like, it got awkward because people would be like, he's standing next to Jay in the merch table and people are like, you're fucking hilarious. Brendan sucks. And then walks off and Chappelle's just like standing next to his brother like,
damn, you know, naming the waters.
Naming the waters being, but like, I mean, legitimately, Chappelle is a killer. Like a lot of people don't realize because he's more of an introvert and he's not that flash on social media, but he is a very authentic person. And if you haven't seen him do stand up, you'd be surprised. You know, so but he's really good and it just he takes this really professional approach wherever, like I've seen his act evolve and he'll add like little looks. He'll do like he's always making like small tweaks to work toward a better joke that might not be totally obvious, but like he watches his own sets and it's better.
Brendan doesn't, right?
Crazy. Yeah. No, I don't think he watched his entire hour set like once. Like he only watches things to like be like, post it. Like, is this ready to post?
How was he after doing the Gringo Poppy? Like the night after, what was he like? Really excited or happy?
Yeah, in his mind, it was like crushed it, monumental achievement. Like, you know, we did it because it was a lot of stress to get into it. And this is kind of, I remember Brian Callen telling me something. He's like, he's always been like really linear. That was the word he used. And he also said, like, he said some diplomatic things that I think I know, like, you know, even if we can't discuss it directly, like Brian's on the same page as me as far as seeing his faults. I may say them in a more brash way if I'm upset with Brendan, you know, but like, he gets it. He'll just kind of go out his way to be like, like I remember one line he said was something to the effect of, Brendan historically has had a difficult time seeing the human element in the work people do for him. Wow. In other words, he treats people like appliances. It's like why isn't this Keurig machine working? Throw it out, get a new one, you know?
How stupid is he really? Like Brendan Schaub, everybody thinks he's really stupid, right? Yeah. Is it like he's just dumb, like a dumb guy? Is it safe for him to drive his kids around? Like,
right. So
how dumb is he?
I think like if you were to test his IQ, I don't think that would be like something exceptionally bad or something like I think he would be average or above average intelligence. Actually, but I would say I'm safe to say he'd be well above average intelligence.
Oh, okay.
But the same thing is like George Bush or something like that, like where people go like, oh, you got like a 1230 on his SATs, where it's like, that's pretty good, you know, out of 1600. Here's the specific commentary I'll make about that. Brendan is not a curious person. He has his very limited areas of interest. He watches a lot of reality TV. He's into like serial killers, but like a fascination with the world, he does not have. A fascination with geopolitics, he does not have. A fascination with other cultures or religions or anything that really is, I would say, more abstract. And I think maybe like as comedians, that tends to draw people who are more abstract and philosophical, because it draws people who are like, I think my thoughts are funny on things and I like to reflect, and I kind of would like my greatest benefit to humanity is like being this sort of philosopher in a sense, if you were to broadly categorize it. I don't think Brendan has that like philosopher, you know, element in his hard drive. And so there's very little curiosity and very little self-reflection. And I would almost consider that like, it's these core elements of like long-term success as a comedian is going, what do I care about? What do I think? Having metacognition, I guess that would be I heard that word when describing like some of the deficits that people with personality disorders have and why it's very difficult for them to think about their own thinking, which I think you guys probably take for granted. Like you think about your own thinking, you think about your own emotions, you can kind of take a more objective perspective of like, you know, and I notice it with your comedy too, like even on the show, there's an element of detachment that makes it more funny. Because you're not just like reacting and kind of being like fucking stupid, and you're just like, what's funny is like, you know, there's a thoughtfulness that I think, you know, endows a lot of comedy with like, it takes the edge off of even something highly critical. It's like, you're going like, I don't even care, but this is stupid. You know, you're not going, this is fucking stupid. It's just, and so the lack of curiosity, the lack of self-reflection, the lack of like, if you're wrong about something, like if you know, like I can tell somebody how I've changed my political views over the years. You know, I used to be very anti-Second Amendment. Now I would consider myself pro-Second Amendment because even if I have a belief about something, I still want to continue to like learn about it and challenge it. And same with lifting, even something like a deadlift. Yeah. I watch beginner deadlift videos once a month just to be like, what is there a cue there or something I'm missing? And I actually will like over the years, I've changed the way I do even these very basic lifts because I always kind of, whatever that quote is, like have the mind of a beginner or whatever this, but it's true in the sense of like the moment you think your shit don't stink or that you're an expert, you kind of calcify, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I think you witness a lot of that with Brendan. Once he thinks he has something figured out, like lifting, for example, he doesn't do anything correctly in the gym. He's very strong in a lot of ways. Like
he has bad form and
bad form. He doesn't do full pull-ups. He doesn't do like proper like overhead press. I've never seen him do a proper squat. Like even with like a goblet squat, he like doesn't go all the way. Like I could just list through. It's like everything's like a shortcut or a half-ass. Yeah. But he'll tell you, dude, I grew up in the gym. It's like, yeah, okay, I could spend the night in a computer lab every night for 10 years. It wouldn't mean I know how to code.
Yeah. You know? I mean, Schaub definitely wouldn't. He would never learn how to do that. Okay, that's crazy.
Some people might, but
if there was like a video of him doing half pull-ups, that would go viral as fuck.
Yeah, and not even that it's half, but it's like okay, it's like, what if you just kind of go to here, right? Yeah. It's not half, but like he also gets competitive, right? So it's like if I'm going all the way down, dead hang, stop, come up, it's like, like you might be able to do 20 and I could do 12 with the same strength. Yeah. Like, but you know, so little, or like if you're raising your hips off the bar when you're doing bench press, like it's all like individually, he might go, oh, well, I don't do it. Or like he's incline pressing and he stops like, 4 to 6 inches from his chest. Now that's cool if you feel like your shoulder hurts or something, but like a lot of times it's not that. They just want to do more weight. People have convinced themselves, whereas I'm more of a proponent of like, go way lighter if you need to and actually strengthen yourself in these extreme ranges of motion, go deeper than you need to. And that actually prepares you better. It prepares and strengthens your joints better for doing full range barbell movements. Okay. I know I'm getting into the weeds here and you guys don't give a fuck.
No.
I have this opposite philosophy.
Brendan. It's like how you do something is how you do everything is what you're saying.
Exactly. And that's really, it is like and I give a lot of patience to people because I've worked out with many, many people in the gym, but like he also kind of gives off this air. As I said, he says, I grew up in the gym. Like if you try to correct him on anything, it's a no-go. Right. Yeah. So and he just gives off that energy. I've never had to try and not, because it's like, I'm used to people asking me if somebody I remember as a personal trainer, they kind of taught us like, I used to work in a Bally's in Portland in like 2007. Right. And they would be like, go up to people and like tell them how to do a form. And I've had a few people snap at me like, don't fucking talk to me. And it's like, all right, you realize people in the gym who are doing shit wildly wrong often don't want to be told what to do at all. So I always wait for people to come to me, and I'm happy to answer questions, but I'm not going to go out of my way to be like, oh, you should try doing this correctly, Yeah. But yeah, with him, it's like, he wasn't asking for anything. Now, a guy like Chappelle, who kind of has this more professional attitude towards lifting and almost everything he does, I think he's really good at he only does a few things in his life and people give him shit like, he doesn't know anything. Well, he doesn't follow pop culture, but like he's into the things he's into. And we kind of became friends from working out. And I would see that like, he would look at everything I did. I barely needed to coach him. He would replicate it as much as he could, try to do the exact same form. Never a peep at him, never would complain, do every single, he had this attitude of like, oh yeah, you're like the ideal lifting partner because you just do it, don't complain, don't skip, and then we'll talk about it afterwards,
I wanted to clarify, that made me think, I wanted to clarify something, because I think we talked about the dig picture joke on a previous podcast.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that you were married at the time. So just that alone is like not okay.
Right. There's 6 different levels to it. It's like saying I'm shitty at my job.
Yeah.
Like saying that I go to Applebee's and it's like this weird, it's like the joke is like I'm broke or I take, right. And he does that there's a lot of casual classes and with him, both and Brian, because they kind of have this money is better attitude. It's that's great and all, but I never try to lose this man, I know where I came from and I never look down on people who don't have money.
That's good. I thought about it even more though, even if I didn't have a girlfriend, I think it would be bad because I don't send dick pics, you know?
Well, correct.
So I don't want people to think that I do.
Right.
So it's
no,
like kind of fucked up.
No, yeah, correct. It's like, that's another element where it's like, it puts me in a position where I have to like defend myself about something that's like essentially like potentially is me too. And the implication in the joke, if you really think about it, is I'm going to send this dick pic and I have to ask somebody else, meaning the girl didn't ask me. Look, if girls are asking to send dick pics, send away, fellas. You know, but like most of the mistakes guys make with dick pics is like, unsolicited, and any hot girl that we both, y'all know, or not even hot, you don't even have to be super hot. Like women are being bombarded with dick pics all the time that they don't want and they don't like them. And it's like a girl will let you know if she wants to see that hog.
Yeah. They'll let you know. They'll let you know.
Lace is getting a lot of requests, for see that hog, dog.
Well, could it be a half truth? Because it's like he's telling people that you're sending terrible dick pics, but maybe you're sending his dick to people, right?
Yeah.
Right?
So I am sending Brendan Schaub's dick pic around.
You have to. It's your job. That's like, so you're like trying to go to sleep at 3 a.m. and he's like, Mark, I don't know how to use my phone.
Mark, socials.
So how social's doing its code word for something, and you're gonna text some like whore.
How many dicks we got out in Rhode Island?
Yeah, exactly.
You got real hoes, man. Like you really used it. That's not cool. And he didn't pay you, which is like the worst thing he did.
Yeah. And again, not that it wasn't like I was on, but it was just like it was just some of the things like, for example, like I was supposed to get $3,000 a month for Tiger Thick, and like, but then it was like time to invoice, and it's like, oh, his manager's going to call me up and be like, oh yeah, it was you and Jay, we're going to get 3,000 total. I'm like, what? Like nobody does business like that. Like, hey man, your salary is $50,000. Oops. I meant that was you and this other guy who you don't even work.
Wow.
Like, and Jay wasn't really doing the social media. So it was like, and that was the second time it happened. Like, remember he promised me $1,000 a month for like Happy Hippo ad reads on my podcast, and then it was like suddenly like I invoiced it. It's like, oh yeah, my accountant's going to call you. And it's like, yeah, man, actually $500 a month. It was you and Chappelle combined. Like, so it was like the same, like weird excuse, I'm like, what? Like, but then I found it in writing actually that it did say it. So like, I'm gonna circle back to that. But a lot of weird stuff like that where it's like, you said you were going to pay me and then you didn't, or like he took me off Thick Boy payroll. Like, and that's even what started me getting fired was like, I couldn't come in for Schaub show because I was with my wife in Vegas and had planned to come earlier, but couldn't and I'm sending this like, anxiety ridden text like, hey dude, I'm so sorry I can't come in. But like I texted the other guy, he can cover my thing. And he was like, this is not good. And he sent me this shitty text. I'm like, then to come to find out, like, which wasn't necessary. It's like, dude, I already told you I'm gonna spend the rest of the day editing clips for T-Fac. Like, I'm gonna put in more than an 8-hour shift. What do you want from me? But then I come to find out later, he'd already taken me off the payroll for that particular show. So I'm like, wow, you're shitting on me, and you'd already consciously taken me off the payroll for that job, that aspect of the job, and a lot of stuff like that. There's just me and other people. If you get to know them, you'll report this financial fuckery.
Yeah, that's a real betrayal. Yeah. Maybe one more question, then watch some clips.
But with that whole thing, like, is the chemistry of that the fact that it's like you're doing business with a friend? So it's hard. No.
I mean, like, well, yes, in the sense that like it made it awkward. Like had I not get fired, I was going to have to take that on the chin. But like this was 7 months of ad reads for Happy Hippo, and it was like, oh yeah, instead of $7,000, you're going to get 3,500.
Yeah,
that's a significant amount. Ooh, instead of 3 months of Tiger Thick, that's $9,000. You're going to get 4,500. Okay, that's $10,000.
Yeah,
like I'm sorry, that's a big amount of money to me. How the fuck am I going to pay for these lip injections? God damn. But
how expensive are they? Just kidding.
Should we be getting it? But this is a serious question.
I wanted to ask a couple questions about. So first with Brian Callen, right?
Yeah.
On the AMA, I had asked. I don't think
I never met him.
Great guy, never met him. I'm a huge fan of Brian Callen's before ever getting involved with the Changs and all this stuff.
Yeah, well, he is. I mean, look, he's at the craft of comedy. Like he knows what he's doing, man.
Exactly.
And he's a student and he's thoughtful about it. And my overarching thing about Brian, I may have some issues with him, or we had a recent dust up. He's trying to get me knocked into the AMA, and I felt like kind of like, hey man, stop fucking trying to convince me of this shit. But anyway, like you have to respect his craft.
Yeah. With the both of them, I was wondering, because recently with the clips from the Fight Companion, there was some cheekiness to what's happening in the Changs.
Dude.
Right?
Dude.
I was wondering if, like, go for it, yeah.
No, so I saw the unique headline video where it was like he makes a reference to the 1,000 paper cuts.
Yes.
And I go in my head, I'm like, there's no way Brian did that deliberately. And then I watched the clip and I'm like, he 100% did that deliberately. Because he goes, yeah, death by 1,000 cuts. And he goes, and I've never heard Brendan react like that before.
Yeah,
I've never heard Brendan go, fuck you. It reminded me of this joke that I remember my buddy told me, and the whole point of the joke is like to extend this middle part as long as possible. But it's basically like a guy shows up to this like this circus and he's like in the front row and a clown comes out and rips on him, like does some like, like embarrasses him like thoroughly in front of his date. And like the middle part is like, he goes on this like training montage to be like the funniest, like to learn like the comebacks, or like how he's got a black belt in like, the jujitsu of verbal combat. And he's like prepares like for a year to come back and see the same clown. And he goes to the show and the guy tries to do the same thing. And he goes, fuck you, clown. But like, you'd been leading up like for 20 minutes. Like, and then he goes to this school and then he goes to the academy and come back, and it kind of felt like that. Cause Brendan's Mr. I'll light you up, B, Goes,
so with the
fuck you.
With the question, and we can cut this out if you want me to, but I was wondering, does that cheekiness show up outside of the show whatsoever with the allegations against Brian or Brendan's presence on the subreddit?
Oh,
do they make cheeky jokes towards each other?
No. Brendan wouldn't like be cheeky about, I don't think his allegations. And also I think that was maybe off, like it wasn't off limits. I don't think Brian would reference the subreddit because like one of the things he said to me before going on the AMA, he's like, these are the worst people in the world. I'm like, oh, that's your perception. It's like anybody who's like has fun at Brendan's expense mostly is like the worst person in the world. And I actually get his antagonism on more on Red Bar and stuff like that. But also like I was there too being like, oh my God, these guys are psycho, coming after me. But it shows you, my big takeaway from seeing it up close is like, they're scared of it because they're not willing to engage with it. And I've always felt like, like I'll engage with my haters and because I want to know what the fuck they're saying. If the worst you can tell me is that I'm fucking, a douchebag and I have big lips and like, it's like, okay, I'm fine with that because you haven't hit on like my real insecurities.
Yeah. Also there's no nuance to it. It's just all one note. It's just all the same thing.
Right. And that's, it's like, it signals to me that you're antagonistic to me. But what's funny is like so many people in my DMs, I'll see like the last message they wrote to me. It's like, fuck you big lip piece of shit. And then it's like, hey man, sorry about that. I'm like, dude, I get it. Like so many people, but it's like, honestly, because I'm like, you can't offend me if I don't know you. You know what I mean? Like you can, if we are close, like, and you betray me, like that'll hurt more. But it's like a stranger talking shit about me on the internet, about my physical appearance. Like if you can't handle that, you're an adult man, like grow the fuck up. But a lot of, it just seems like they run away from that. And there are people, I don't know how Brian felt about leaning into it. I think he generally, like, he is trying to give Brendan a lot of notes about like, even just podcasting, like, hey, let's do more yes and don't shoot everything down and kind of don't be, but it's hard because it's almost like you have to inception his ass. Like you have to like plant this idea in his head that makes him think it's his own idea to be less of an asshole, and interrupt people less. Because if the moment somebody else is telling him what to do, he doesn't like it,
Because that's what my belief in my conspiracy is, that Brian is homeless but paying rent. You know what I mean? I told Brendan about this.
That's a philosophical dichotomy for the ages. You know, you have a home, but you are homeless. No, I don't think that's too far off. And I haven't like really probed his mentality because I think he is diplomatic and he does have a lot of loyalty to Brendan. And I think a lot of times for good reason. But like what you're saying is, I could answer it like this. Would he get the humor in a lot of the jokes you're making about Brendan? Of course.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I don't think he's checking it out because people like, even when I like, I would go on the subreddit, I'd be like, I don't want to go like, just go like see people shit on me for no reason. Like, so it's like, it's not fun. Like, unless it's like, like they kind of set up a system where like other people are checking on there. Like, I'm sure people are reading it right now. Like his, like, another guy who works there is like, hey man, could you like not take that down? Like it has my name. I'm like, oh, my bad. I don't want to, but like, I know somebody's paying attention to it but my assumption is the way Brendan likes to have feedback is kind of like, give me the cliff notes of the cliff notes, and also make them all positive. So like, unless it's like a true emergency that's going to like ruin my life, unless I deal with it right now, it's like, I just kind of want like, hey, give me a, a steady leak of like positive tidbits from my narcissistic supply.
It must be hard to find that though, you know?
Yeah.
Often it is, yeah. And I've actually talked to, Gianni Paolo, who used to run his social media, like we commiserated, because we typed in socials to both our phones, like how's social? Like he's been using the same phrase multiple times a day for years. How's socials, fellas? How's social, fellas? So sometimes we'll just text you,
it's
hey,
so
Johnny,
dismissive.
how's socials? In what way?
It's just like there's no interest in it really. It's just like copy paste house socials.
Correct,
Right,
because I go like I would be so much more specific if I was in his position.
Yeah, like what are we trying to work towards on social?
Correct.
What are we doing?
Right, exactly. No, I couldn't agree more because there's some really smart guys on Chang's who are like, no social media strategy or no analytics. And they're like, this doesn't make any sense from a strategic perspective. If you're trying to be like, I'm not on social media, but you check in multiple times a day. My analogy is like, I don't eat ice cream. I just pay my assistant to shovel it in my face.
Yeah.
And my mouth happens to be there as the ice cream falls off the spoon, but I don't eat ice cream. Somebody else feeds it to me, It's totally different. But it's like, no, you're on social media and you're addicted to it just by proxy, you know? And it doesn't make any sense because like, you're not on it so you can focus on other things. If you're worrying about it all day, it seems like you spend a lot more time worrying about likes and comments than you do about writing new jokes.
Yep.
So keep that same energy.
Yeah. So on that topic of the socials, I was wondering personally, with the iMessage group chat, who named it Operation Tiger Thick?
I believe Brendan.
That's awesome. That was the answer I wanted.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the original line of questioning here with Brian and Brendan.
Yeah.
I think we already touched on Brian becoming homeless. I'm praying for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. A little bit hard to see from me as long as, like, unless they have a big falling out, which, like, look, Brendan pushes their friendship to the limit.
Okay.
Like, because Brian's a pretty agreeable guy. Like, he's a reasonable guy. Anytime here's what I would say, like, is one of the biggest differences between these two guys. A couple of times we've had like an argument in text and you get context loss. Like maybe you type in all caps and I'm like, dude, why are you getting upset? Something like that. Cause technically he is my boss. Like in the terms of like, I work for TFK. So
the hierarchy,
and I'm a little bit more like, if somebody disrespects me, like, I don't give a fuck who you are. Like I consider myself a good employee, but it's like, hey, we're not doing that. We're not screaming at me over text, but to his credit, the very few times that happened, next time I saw him, he'd make sure to talk to me privately and be like, hey man, like I didn't like how that came across. And I just wanted to let you know, like, that wasn't my intention. And he gives me, and that's what I like to do to people where it's like, I'm not just going to be like, hey man, sorry about that. Moving on and be like, here's where I'm coming from. I'm going to offer you an apology. You don't have to take it, but like, that goes a really long way with me and demonstrates a lot of maturity and a desire to like be a better person. Yeah. And Brendan, he can't take solo accountability. He'll be like, man, it's been really tough between us. Like, it's like, what you did to me, or like he'll go, I don't like how things went down. I don't like this tension between us. It's never, I did something wrong. It's always like, and if it is, I call it his fake accountability. He'll go, like in this Tiger Thick group chat that maybe you read, it was like, no, man, that's on me. Like, I should have known you guys weren't going to do it or something like that. I'm like, no. Like, that's your fake accountability. What do you mean? It means you're going, oh yeah, it's on me that you guys are so stupid and incompetent. I should have known. It's like, it's not on you because you're claiming you pay us to do something. You expressed an expectation after we couldn't have gone back and done it and acted like we're stupid idiots.
He never hits the hammer on the head,
Yeah.
Never does it.
So with Brian, right? If there's one thing that you could tell Brian, like the best part about becoming homeless, what would that thing be?
The best part, and this is kind of like, this is what it came down to because he was on the phone with me going like I'm not saying this is insincere. And when I first picked up, I was kind of like, because I didn't want to talk to him. I was like, I feel like you're trying to convince me of something. Like part of me was like, is Brendan in the car, like overhearing this? I don't know. But like, and he assured me that he wouldn't talk to Brendan about it, but then somehow that conversation got leaked to him that like, cause it like on the AMA holes or MMA holes, they were like, and you were screaming at Brian and like, luckily my wife was there to like corroborate. It's like screaming. Yeah, so I was talking like this. Here's what I said. Hey dude, Brendan is a narcissistic asshole who lies to people and defames them behind their back. That's not the kind of guy that I feel any sort of loyalty to protect his nature now. Like, I said something like that and then it was like, click, Have you heard me scream? Like if I'm screaming at you, you better fucking be like, so.
I've never seen The Lion in the Plains.
Tonight. So I don't like it when people exaggerate like that because what's the goal there? To make me look unhinged. Like, oh, Mark was crazy. Like, no. I talked to you for 40 minutes and you weren't hearing a single thing I said. And finally, when you reframed it, you kept framing like, Mark, you're seeking revenge. Like, you need to think about the fact that this, like, karmically and philosophically, and if you go for revenge, dig 2 graves, one for yourself. It's like, shut the fuck up. My analogy is, this ain't revenge. This is me discussing something that happened to me, and it's therapeutic. This isn't me going to fucking slash his tires or something. Like if somebody were to like hack into his Twitter account and post something on that, like that would be revenge. But like this, like they just do an AMA, like
dude,
crazy person with that.
Yeah, imagine for it, like how pathetic that is that Brian and Schaub reached out to some, no offense to MMA holes, but just some random guy in Arizona.
But
they're like,
also,
hey man, he's just a YouTube dude. I
assume actually, if we give him the benefit of the doubt, that he reached out to them for comment because he was trying to be like journalistically. And
we don't do that.
Right. Well, no, I mean, it's true. Like there is a difference if you're trying to do entertainment versus, now the guy, I thought the guy did a good job of like even saying like, I've made fun of Gringo Papi, I want to stay neutral. And he would kind of just like, he'd tee me up, let me talk. And he wasn't going like, oh yeah, that's crazy. Like, tell me more. He would just let me answer. I'm glad he did give me the other side of the story. Cause one of the reasons I started talking about it in the first place was I go, Brendan hasn't said anything yet, but every time I've seen somebody leave his life, every time, 100% of the time, he badmouths them with false claims after the fact and really revises history in a lot of ways. And so I could kind of anticipate, I'm like, I know this is going to happen. So it's almost like preemptively, I have to get it out there because I know he's either doing it behind my back or he's going to do it. And of course that turns out to be true. He made like 8 different claims about me not coming into work. Like, and being late. What were my hours then? You know what I mean? Like all this, like everything.
Like 24/7.
Right. It's like, I could come in late, but like, also I have I might have a recording of a phone call where he, or a, in-person discussion where he said I could work remotely. So, even that it's like, if I get up and start editing at 8 and I don't come until 11 to the studio to do something like, that mean I'm not working and you even okayed that, but then it's a big deal. So every claim he made, you saw me kind of get worked up on the show, but it was like, it's when you're not expecting it and somebody's like, hey man, is it true that like, you beat your wife? And it's like, what? Like, no, fucking, she's saying that, like it does get you riled up. And to go back to your actual question about Brian, because of the financial situation, like, he does seem to make a lot of money from TFK. I don't know how much longer the show's going to last or whatever, but I know Brendan privately has expressed interest in, he's like things will be tense between them. And Brendan kind of has this card of like, well, I don't even know if I want to do the show anymore. And it's like, well, you'd be losing money too, right?
Yeah. Brendan, if you're watching this, suing Mark is a bad idea for an NDA thing because you'll have to pay. Mark can sue you right back for free. For wage and hour violations, you moron.
No, that's a very good point. And if I were to have like labor attorney friends who I've been speaking to, like they might say things like, "Oh, that's a terrible idea."
You don't know that, right? You do. Oh, really, dude?
Oh, really, dude? No, so that's why
more than you'd think.
That's why I felt emboldened by this. Like, I didn't even look at my NDA because I'm like, first of all, like I double fucking dare you to sue me over telling exactly what happened to me. Because you're a piece of shit. You know how terrible that would look. And that's part of how he spoiled his own reputation. It's going after this unique guy. Right. Then the headline becomes, Brendan Schaub sues small YouTuber over joke. It's the worst headline you could possibly write about a comedian, like short of sexual allegations. That would be, take that off the table. This is the worst headline you could ever have.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
All right.
100%. And then the last question is, and this answer could just be no, because it's typically on Chang's to this question, the answer is no.
Yeah.
But
how many chicks I fucked?
Real quick. How many chicks? Mark texted me that. That's like the first thing you text. When I heard or I DM'd you, and I look at my phone like a little bit later, and it says, "Hey, real quick, B, how many chicks you fucked?" Dude, I laughed so hard at that shit.
But if you were to put your Doctor Strange hat on, is there any possibility of a redemption arc for Mr. Brenda?
Like I can't say that would be impossible, but it would be predicated on humbling himself in certain ways that I just like from everything I know about the personality style that I'm describing that I believe he has, it would contradict all of that. And I think like there would be multiple steps in the way of like awareness of the issue, which is very unlikely for a narcissist, and then pursuit of help for the issue. Like something major would have to force him into that. Like some mechanistically would be like, well, you have to go to therapy and you have to come out the other end. And there has to be like proof of the fact that you have shown an ability to take accountability. So like it's possible, but the steps would be sort of learning how to take ownership, apologizing to people, not being obsessed with sort of like power and control over almost everything else. Because again, one of the reasons I was fired was like he prioritized like me not texting him back over me doing like 5 times more work than he actually expected. So I wanted like, I kind of, like I knew I was risking getting fired, but I wanted to be like, oh, okay, hey, look at what I just did. Over here we have like, 5 times as many reels as you'd normally expect from any other editor. And I worked all night to do it. You're going to ignore that fact and be like, you didn't text me back for 3 hours. And I was like, oh, and you just like, you succumb to the worst expectations of you as a human being.
I think, with having the position he has of trying to start a company and making it bigger and bigger growth, he kind of just carries a hammer and looks for nails that aren't there.
That's an amazing way to put it, because I've always said like his leadership style, I don't think people realize like, if you were to get an MBA, you'd study leadership styles, and there's all these different styles, and like the best leaders take different approaches with different people in different scenarios. Yeah. The guy who's like the fake alpha male, which I do, I like to do like the faux narcissism joke and kind of like pretend like I'm like a guy who's like thinks he's in charge. Like that's a funny character to me, but like I just know and have always known I'm not the guy who always looks to be in charge. And when you get somebody like that, and they tend to be sort of narcissistic and maybe psychopathic or something like that, but like they don't develop a lot of leadership styles. They kind of use this like bullying tactic or condescension or fear. There's like a very limited palette of leadership techniques that they use. And that always runs people dry. You know what I mean? You can't always do this kind of like, get on my level, let's go, let's do better. You're fucking up. Like you're going to get fired. And that's kind of like, almost like you could summarize his leadership style in those 5 terms. There's very little like positive long-term vision. There's very little encouragement. He micromanages, but doesn't know like how even to micromanage. One thing if I knew how to edit and I'm editing, micromanaging is it's one thing to be like, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? No. Like, So
and also like you said earlier, if you could talk to Brendan, if he's watching this right now, I would say, continue what you're doing. I love Brendan Schaub, but please, if you do stand-up comedy, make it a segment on a podcast. Stick to podcasting, and that's that. Right?
Well, yeah, I think that's going to be another tough sell because the reason
Gringo Poppy 2?
I want a Gringo Poppy 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Like Avatar.
They're hilarious. Not on purpose.
God. That actually would be a really good idea because you'd get so much more imagine the response if he unironically was just like Gringo Poppy 2.
Yeah, that's
my special is Gringo Poppy 3.
That would be amazing. You keep watching, it's like Sharknado or any of those movies.
Yeah, like there's an avenue to lean into this, but that's also predicated on like complete self-awareness to realize like, there's a meta thing going on that people would really enjoy, but you'd be like, come on, the level of abstract thought you need to like pull off a troll joke. You're not Bo Burnham, like the pinnacle of abstract. But like makes me think of when he's doing his stay and he accidentally knocks over the water and he's like, and this is a lie. Like he does some little tricks. I'm like, I like that kind of stuff and I'm tickled by it, but you have to have this forethought of like,
Bo Burnham. Bo Burnham would be inside instead of inside. Dude, Gringo Poppy 3.
Do you want to watch some clips?
Are you down to watch some clips?
I love clips.
Okay,
already.
Clips are some of my favorite things.
The first clip we have is called Rinks references the Tony Hinchcliffe and Steve-O paper cuts joke, and Papa Don't Take Too Kindly, posted by Lost Psych.
Emmett, if he connects, you go to sleep, and then you hear death by 1,000 cuts.
The way that he smirks and breaks, because I wouldn't up until that moment where he breaks, I would have been like, oh, he was just said that randomly because it's like it's a common enough phrase.
Yeah.
No, he nailed it. That's like that dog meme where the dog tells a joke. It's like he got it good. He's saving that up. There may be some homeless shit.
And what that tells you is because normally Brendan's excuse is like, I don't see anything. I don't even know what the joke is. Like, how could I be in on the joke if I don't know the joke? him saying "fuck you" means they've discussed this, and Brian knows that Brendan knows, and so Brendan is aware that Steve-O and Tony Hinchcliffe, who he has like a weird issue with, like, I mean, he thinks Steve's like, he makes fun of Steve-O behind his back. He's like, the guy doesn't even do stand-up. He does like a PowerPoint presentation, and it sucks. And like, again, I'm not saying anything new. But if you're a comic, Brendan talks shit about you. If you've met Brendan and you're a comic, aside from maybe like Tom Segura at North Star, or anybody else, but it's like, you could be fucking Joe Rogan and be like, he does a TED Talk. It's like everything's like, he'll find a way to, the mental acrobatics that he does in order to dismiss other people who are more successful than him is astounding. But Tony Hinchcliffe's one of these guys who was like, I don't want that life. Like, he can't even sell tickets. He's opening for Rogan or whatever. It's like, hey, what a shitty life, Tony. His podcast crushing it. I think
he has a pretty good life. And
he's an amazing writer.
If you're a comedian, Water's name be. Schaub talks about you.
Yeah. No, you can just guarantee it. Like, even if you're his best friend, if there's a way to dismiss you, if you're Trevor Wallace, he'll be like, oh yeah, he sells a bunch of tickets, but like the young people at his show don't buy enough drinks and food. It's like, really, dude?
What a strange insult.
No, right. Like, it's, I'm just telling you, like, it's that level. And then like, one of the editors used to work for Brendan. He was one of the first to get douched out of the Thick Boy Squad. He like moved him out here, and then he just like fired him for the shittiest reason. Again, Kyle's dope. He's a little bit like, he can be a little bit testy. That's the only, but like then now I see him like, oh yeah, Brendan makes you testy. It's impossible not to be. But he's on tour with Trevor Wallace, and he's like, oh yeah, it's great, dude. The guy's like, he gives you a schedule. You know when you're working, when you're not, and he's super nice. And I've met Trevor many times, and he just, he's been nothing but nice to me. And
he seems like a nice guy.
Yeah. So, but it's like even on that level, like, and I think he's a great example of like how to use social media to drive your stand-up. You know what I mean? Of like his sketches are really good, but they're different. Like, and he does these characters, so I'm like, study Trevor Wall. You want to look at like internet marketing, do that.
Yeah, I probably for sure have made fun of Trevor Wallace behind his back, but
Schaub doesn't even know who I am, but he definitely thinks I'm gay.
Right. Yeah. You can count on that. And I just mean like, think of what you want for Trevor Wallace as a comedian. And like, and I think he's funny, but I'm just going like, you can be that guy. I think by all objective standards, he's for 30 years old, he's crushing
very
it.
successful.
But to turn it into like,
he doesn't sell enough food.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure that's the number one complaint.
That wouldn't be my criticism.
The sold out theater that he just did.
Yeah. No, that guy's crushing it.
All right, so this next one is posted by Sprout Cobain, and it's called The Ultimate Sacrifice, Long Live P.F. Chang's. I enjoyed this one.
Look at that redacted face.
It doesn't make sense. I can't talk. You seem really upset, obviously.
Wiggles and Joe.
Oh my God.
P.F. Chang's.
Chili. Sorry for your loss.
Oh my God. I think I saw that clip before without the audio because I was like, oh, I've seen this before. And then the clips that they used for each little moment there was so good. And I also love that they used that picture of me was taken by this guy who had this whole lighting setup, and then he Photoshop the shit out of my face to make it look all high, so it's like it's an interesting picture, but
I think you shouldn't be redacted anymore. I think show Mark's face.
Yeah. Show Mark's face.
I'm open. Mark rules. You
guys roll. No, it's been actually really cool.
I don't know if that's true. But.
This is one of the it's really fun. Just like, because we're all connecting via this idea of like, we see the same, you see this plant screen, right? Yeah, I know for a while I was saying it was red, but I was a retard, and it is in fact green. Sorry.
Oh my God, that's so funny. All right, so this next one is called Decided to Put an Apron On for the First Time in Months. God Dog, This Podcast is Dead. Posted by Toronto Rapture.
But he wasn't willing to talk about the 40 million people that Stalin starved and killed. And he said that's not true, what the forced collectivization, except for every historian would disagree with him. He's an economist.
Well, that's like when people say, look at the things Hitler did. It's like, sure, like Volkswagen, Porsche, he built all that, right?
Well, he didn't, but the German war machine.
It was he planted the seed to get it going, and put the funds to get it going with Volkswagen and Porsche, right? And Mercedes and all that, and then giving Hugo Boss the opportunity to build the uniform, right? So he burst all these careers.
Brian's consensus is being clipped in real time. He's like, Brendan defending Hitler's genius. it's not like what he's saying is necessarily anti-factual, but like, unless you're a World War II professor, like, and I'm going to this lecture about like Hitler's entire life, like, you don't need to highlight that. You know what I mean?
Of course.
And it also wasn't even talking about Hitler. You're talking about Stalin. But also Hitler, let's talk about how smart he was. Like, what?
That's the thing.
You know,
with these
and
clips.
you're snitching on yourself, man. It's like, why are you thinking so much about how awesome Hitler is?
That's the thing with these clips. Weird. They make you redacted.
Right.
I didn't even notice that.
It goes on way too long, and you're like, do you not read the room? That's like self-awareness, right? I've just got like, he makes other people uncomfortable, and they're just going like, Brian's literally going, like, he wants to disappear from that room. He wants to teleport the fuck out of there like Nightcrawler.
He was talking about Stalin.
Yeah. And the way you just like, Hitler did a bunch of bad things. Okay, Porsche. Like, it's just the weirdest. You know, he has this Trumpian like word salad thing where it's just like thing to thing to thing to thing. You know, and it's like it's a thing to be held because you watch this like tangential thinking in real time where, you know, it's obviously surprising, but you go, imagine being in the room trying to have a conversation with him.
And you know what's great is this long conversation we had about Brendan Schaub's character and talking about the lack of curiosity and whatnot.
Yeah.
It peaks in the worst moments, his curiosity.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know what
serial killers and Hitler, you know?
I do not know what Hitler made.
Yeah.
I don't know if he made Hugo Boss. Why does Schaub know that?
Yeah. And there
really
are some interesting things about, like, and I'm fascinated by the guy, but, you know, there's many other angles that I would take. Like,
Off a podcast, though.
Because also, like,
only learning about what Hitler did.
He didn't,
Hitler.
like, if I was looking at his personal achievements, I'd look at more like his architectural designs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which he actually drew himself. And it's like,
Right.
he didn't make Volkswagen.
I don't think
he
so.
He told some people to do it or put money, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's like, like Obama, you know, or did George Bush like drop bombs in Iraq? No, he just said like, do it, you know?
Yeah, just because companies happen to be started at that time doesn't mean that Nazism had anything to do
Right,
with
right.
making
That's
a good
meanwhile,
car.
dude.
Who is this guy?
He's a Navy SEAL, I guess. There's one clip where he like kind of calls. He's like, "No, you idiot!" Like, I like when other people who kind of don't subscribe to the Boppaverse, you know, because they kind of to be in his orbit. You kind of like if I want to like not have it be weird later, I kind of have to be nice to him. But other people are like, I'm just dropping in for the day. I'm Howie, you know, Mandel.
Yeah.
Like are you stupid? Like, you know, I can dip after this.
None of that matters. What he did outweighs all that.
No shit.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah. But there's, you know, you can hang on those things and try and prove to I don't know who that he's a good guy.
Yeah,
or a
broken
brilliant
clock
guy.
is right twice a day.
Yes.
I would love to hear
That's,
Brian's
you know,
thoughts during
Not if it's digital,
Not if it's digital, buddy.
because it's just not on.
Yeah, that just doesn't work.
What is happening?
I think he's trying to gently mock Brendan, you know, not if it's digital.
Yeah. There's a lot of clips of you, so I got to
I'm
like
so
sift through.
popular. It's like, why are you so obsessed with me?
This one's called Thick Boy Stews, posted by Rogan and Shorty Pie.
Oh, nice.
He's the star of the show, really.
Yeah,
Shorty Pie.
Absolutely.
Here we go.
We are here at Thick Boy Stews in Calabasas, California.
A nice winter stew. You know? I sauteed the beef
Quite
and then
the
I added the carrots.
Weekend, fam. Quite the weekend for the fight fans and football fans. You had Super Bowl weekend. Hope y'all enjoyed that Super Bowl. Patrick Mahoney's doing the damn thing.
Do you like how also he's podcasting? He's like this. Like he's like, it's like a solo podcast and he's like, anyway, people played football this weekend. It was cool. Anyways.
Is someone forcing him to do this?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't really want to be here, but I'm also using the inflection of someone who's excited. Yeah, I'm on Kratom. And I don't care.
Patrick Mahoney?
Patrick Mahoney. Who is that? It's not a person. Nobody's going to correct me because I rule with an iron fist. Fire you if you tell me New England's a state.
There are times with Boppa where it seems like they've just taken a dad from his family and been like, you have a podcast now. You do your shit. Like right now.
Yeah.
Here's a shirt.
Yeah.
Also, is the leg rubbing like conscious or is it
dude,
comforting?
I noticed it a while ago. I was like it's first of all, I don't know, maybe because my legs are huge, but like I don't like crossing my legs. So like you're not going to catch me, you know, this already feels uncomfortable. Right. And then just to be like, it's like always like looks like sexual, you know what I mean? I'm like, what is going on? Like, and I get it because sometimes like I'll have a sore pec or something. I'm like, oh, I want to massage it out, but it's like he's not massaging. He's just like self-soothing. I don't know. I have to imagine it's some sort of stress reaction.
Some sort of like comfort or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like thumb sucking.
Yeah.
You know, since he made a dent in the roof of his mouth, sucking his thumb, I guess he's got to do this now. How shocked would you be if you found out, if you like walked in and I'm sleeping and he's like, that was a joke.
It would be disturbing. Yeah, it would be disturbing to see, but not shocking.
You're like, oh, of course.
Yeah, I mean, like I kind of thought that this track.
That would be neg fligs if you got him sucking his thumb.
And then you also had the big UFC 284. The main event in UFC 284 delivered and the Super Bowl delivered. So can't be mad at any of it unless you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan or you're a Alexander Volkanovski fan.
Oh, okay. There's nothing really much
there. The end, he nailed the end. Yeah. Stick the landing.
Stick the landing. Philadelphia Eagles fan. There was like something wrong with them, Unless they're all Philadelphia Eagle fan.
This one's called Schaub leaves his own show 20 minutes before it ends. Posted by Rogan is Shorty Pie.
If you were pause for a second? I have to go.
You gotta go.
Yeah, I gotta do this other show at 2.
Oh, I got you.
Can you guys finish it though? Don't finish early. You're great at it. You can sit in my seat.
You're not great. You're leaving.
Yeah, I know.
I'm never coming back.
No, but I'm programmed. This guy's a woke fuck over here.
What the fuck, dude?
Kidding, not kidding.
Come on.
We have 15 minutes. It's only 1:45.
Is it cockbag?
Cockbag.
Yeah, you're a cock of bags.
Cockbag.
It would be a bag of cocks, but I appreciate you going.
He's got to be somewhere in 2. I know where you got to go.
All right.
Go do
your best, brother.
Yeah, man.
He's like, please just leave.
Take it easy, Mr.
We're solving the gun control problem.
The Navy SEAL's better than him at comedy.
Yeah, they couldn't. No, it is. I know it's funny, right? Because you kind of, it's like he. Again, I'd feel like more self-conscious about criticizing somebody's comedy, except like you've probably seen these famous moments where he's like, "Oh, you really laughed at that Andrew Tate joke?" Like, well, there's 2 comics that like he likes to flex a lot to me and other people. Like, well, professional comic, you don't know anything about humor, and it's like, well, I think there are funny people out there who don't necessarily do stand-up comedy and wouldn't like have as arrogant of an attitude about it. So,
and to that I say, okay, Mr. Whole Foods.
Right.
Yeah. Do you think those are toe holds he's got on, the Navy SEAL?
Wait, does he have sandals on?
Probably not.
Did he?
Yeah. Has Brian ever given you toe holds?
No, and funny enough, I'm in contact with the owner of it, AG, who's a really cool guy.
Okay.
I haven't asked for them. I actually would wear sandals because like Brendan has this whole like anti-sandal. I'm like, yeah, but they're comfortable.
I got bad feet.
Really?
That's why I don't.
Have you never worn sandals in your life?
Not often because my feet are gross.
Right. I just really like them to like come in and out of a house. Like they're just, to me, they come in handy a lot. Like maybe like maybe you don't want to see them on a show or whatever, but anybody with like arbitrary fashion standards, where it's like, you can't do this. And it's just fuck all the way off, man.
Yeah.
Like you're a jean and a t-shirt guy, right? Like it's just, so people kind of like, no, it's cool if you want to dress a certain way, but like if you're enforcing your fashion on me, it goes down a weird path.
Yeah.
I'm like, so you're uncomfortable with how I look to you when I'm around you, or what,
Right. Yeah, I'm more of a slippers guy.
Yeah,
something I can slip on.
Hell yeah.
Moccasins all
You
day.
just gotta have those
Boat
comfy shoes.
shoes. Vans, boat shoes, that kind of thing.
All right, so the last clip we have here is posted by Rogan is Shorty Pie. It's called Togan and Eddie Take a Sandy Break. So Rinks and Scoob immediately start talking about digs and plug in their dates.
I don't bet against Connor, and Michael Chandler's my boy. I'm not picking.
I get it.
I'm Rogan now.
I get it.
I don't pick.
But I know it's awkward.
I don't pick.
But I'm going to ask you a question.
I'm pulling a Joe Rogan. I don't pick.
Let me ask you
one more time. Jesus
May I ask you a question?
Sure.
First of all,
8 inches.
First of all,
8 inches.
if you're
He
in New
does
York,
that joke so much.
He really does.
You've seen it. Like I've seen him do it in the room multiple times where it's like, Jesus Christ, if you have to fucking repeat that your dick is 8 inches fucking, every time you have any chance to reference it, probably not that big because you'd be saying it's 12 if it was 8. So how you work. We know how Bappa math works.
Yeah.
Isn't it pauses?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like
I meant me and
crusher.
somebody else's dick combined was 8 inches.
Like
March 11th, I'm at Sony Hall. That doesn't matter.
How dare you do that right now?
That was a
Because
commercial.
I'm in Naples next weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Naples.
Okay.
Look at him. He's on
James, take it easy.
All right.
I'm just saying.
All right.
Okay, hold on. Here's my
Where are
question.
these cameras pointed?
Go to the head.
Here's my question.
Wow. Just plug in dates whenever they can, dude.
Jesus Christ. I know it's also funny because I go, does it matter at that point? Like how many tickets are you going to sell from, like how many people from Naples, Florida are watching that broadcast and also are big enough fans of you to not know that you're going to be in Naples. You know what I mean? It's like, if I got any shit from Joe Rogan on his podcast, I'd like, you'd never hear me plug a single fucking thing again. I swear to you, like, because I just like, I'm not trying to get caught, be the butt of a joke about plugging shit when you really go, what, am I selling any extra tickets from that plug if I have 1 million followers on Instagram?
And also the zeitgeist knows that you guys plug too much. It's like,
right. It's like, you know, so
I want to watch how much you do it because it's not really entertaining to do.
Correct. It's
for the people watching.
Yes, and I just think it's and then you're like fake leaning into it. It's like I'm pluggy, you know, but it's like no, but you're doing it and seriously and you're trying to cover it as a joke.
No. Yeah, it's going to lead to a Reddit gadoosh. You know?
The only thing we're plugging is Brendan Walsh's World Record Pod right there.
Oh dude. yeah, and Thick Boy actually.
And Thick Boy,
and
Tiny Fat K.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it for clips.
Hell yeah!
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you guys
the show,
for having
man.
me. This is really fun. Sorry, I was saying this is fun.
You turn into Schaub.
Really fun.
You unzip into your Schaub.
I was haging with all those correct pronunciations for a while.
Yeah, no chance.
You know, I had a speech pathologist, you know, in a microphone. So no, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoy your guys' show. I love the approach you take to, you know, roasting the Boppaverse. And so it was great to be able to come on.
Awesome. Yeah. So only one word would end this appropriately, I think, which is this was Negflix.
Negflix. Some would say the Negflixiest.
Yeah. And plugging. Subscribe to Patreon. Join the Discord. Have a great week.
You got a Patreon?
Yeah, we just started.
I don't subscribe to it.